everyone, this is Tom from Dirk Witte Music Store in Utrecht, the Netherlands. And today we are taking a look at this super killer Gibson Custom Shop 1964 Trini Lopez standard reissue in an awesome looking VOS 60s cherry finish. That translucent finish where you can see all of that beautiful wood grain. Really killer model. It's kind of like an ES 335, but with some very unique visual appointments, as we can definitely tell. This model is probably better known to be played by Dave Grohl, or like Dave Grohl's model looks a lot like this, with the dual diamond sound holes, as well as the diamond inlays on the fingerboard, as well as the flipped, or well, not flipped, the 6 on a row Firebird style headstock. But this model is basically what that model is based off of. So Dave Grohl's model is based on this one, and this was not made for Dave Grohl, obviously in the 1960s, but made for Trini Lopez, which is also what it says over here on the tailpiece block, Trini Lopez. He was he was actually a pretty popular and pretty big American guitar player back in the 1960s, and beyond that. He actually also has a different model with Gibson, or made a different model with Gibson, I believe later than this, which was kind of like a big hollow body with also a dual cutaway, with like these very sharp dual cutaways, which was kind of like in archtop basically, but that came later, and before that we had this model. So let's dive into the specs of this very unique model. It is an ES style body, so meaning that we've got a block in the center and a laminated maple top, sides and back. Obviously we can tell all of that beautiful maple wood grain over there with this 60s cherry translucent finish. And then again, maple block in the center, dual sound holes, diamond sound holes, which look super cool, very unique, kind of art deco, and just also very rock and roll. We've got some dual humbucker pickups, which are the custom Bucker El Nico 3 humbucker pickups. So both of these are those type of humbucker pickups, which are also then unpotted. We've got an ABR1 bridge, which is made out of nickel. And then we've also got nylon saddles, which is what you would see in the early 1960s. Where at Gibson they would use nylon for their saddles as well as for their nuts. And it is a true ABR1, as in that the posts are drilled directly into the top, as opposed to first having these bushings installed and then the posts drilled into those. It is a trapeze tailpiece. The tailpiece itself is actually quite basic, as you would see in the 1960s on the more ES style models, so like ES 335s mainly. But we've got a wooden block added in between those two halves, if you will, with the plaque that reads Trini Lopez model engraved in white, which looks super cool, and it is then connected over here to the end of the body. The input jack over here on the front. And then just a 3-ear pickup selector switch with dual volumes, dual tone controls for each of your humbucker pickups. Multiply black pickguard, kind of like the shorter styles. Got a single ply binding around the top as well as on the back. And then we have got a mahogany neck with a rosewood fingerboard, again with the super cool diamond split inlays in a perlite material. The fingerboard is also bound with some single ply binding. And then as for the profile, Gibson describes this as a medium C, which is accurate. It is actually, yeah, pretty accurate now that I feel it a little bit better. Maybe a little bit beefier than medium, but just overall just very nicely rounded. Definitely a C shape, as the name says. And it is not too slim, as in that it is again a little bit beefier than medium, but just overall just very nice feeling and very comfortable. The nut width is 1.687 inches or 42.85 millimeters. And the nut is also made out of nylon, which again matches those nylon saddles over here in the bridge, which they also did in the 1960s. And again, this super killer looking headstock, which is also very unique to this model, the Firebird style headstock. It's kind of like the non-reverse Firebird style headstock. Or actually, I believe that this actually was first introduced on this model rather than on the Firebird, because the Firebird, non-reverse Firebird, was introduced in 65, 66, something like that. Either way, this is probably the first time that they actually use this headstock, so that only actually makes this a lot cooler, but it just looks super, super killer with that Gibson logo silkscreen, and then which is your blank truss rod cover, and then these 6 on a row Clusen tuners over there on the back that just look super cool and also just work really, really well. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, this model along with the Firebirds are actually one of the very few models that actually get these 6 on a row style headstocks and tuners, so that is just super, super unique and very, very cool. Yeah, last thing to mention, also comes with a hard shell case, obviously, with all of your paperwork, COA and stuff. So yeah, a super, super cool model. It is just pretty much like that somebody just took an EST35 and just went a little bit crazy, as in yeah, just made it a totally different beast to look at and also to play, as in that this just looks super, super killer with that very unique style headstock with the diamond sound holes, the inlays. It is just a very, very unique and very cool model that also just plays and sounds fantastic. So let's get on to that part. But first, if you're interested in this Gibson Custom Shop 1964 Trini Lopez reissue in this very cool looking VOS 60s cherry finish, be sure to head over to the links in the description for further details. If you enjoyed this demo, be sure to like the video and to subscribe to the channel for more cool weekly demos of cool electric guitars like these, or cool acoustics, bass guitars even, all of that really cool stuff. Also be sure to like us and to follow us on our socials, Instagram and Facebook. Links are also in the description. With all that being said, let's hear what this Gibson Custom Shop 1964 Trini Lopez reissue sounds like. I'm going to be playing it through the Marshall JTM 45 Blues Breaker style amplifier. First we'll be playing the clean tones, and then I'll be playing you the dirty tones, for which I'll be using a non-horsey clon. So let's move on to that part and let's take this 1964 Trini Lopez reissue for a spin.